In today's business world, data is everything, and understanding your customers is the key to growth. Every successful business knows that it's not just about selling products or services, but about knowing who your customers are, what they want, and why they make certain decisions. When you have deep insight into your customers' demographics, such as their age, their location, their income level, and their buying habits, you can make smarter decisions that drive real results. You can identify most valuable customers, personalize your experience, and even predict what they will want next. So, in this video, I'll use Microsoft Excel to show you how businesses can use data to better understand their customers, make data driven decisions, and build long term success. So, if you are ready to learn how to use Microsoft Excel to transform the way you grow your business, let's dive in. So, if you have not subscribed to the channel, kindly help me by subscribing to the channel and like the video and then also share it to your friends. All right. So, if you have downloaded the workbook that we are going to use, don't open the workbook yet. Just open a blank workbook like this. Open a blank workbook. So, whilst this blank workbook is opened, just come to data. Right? Come to data, and then on the data tab, you see get data. So what we are going to do is we are going to import the workbook that we downloaded into this file here. So just click on the drop down, and when you hover on file, you see workbook from test CSV, and then all the other sources that we can import our data from. But since our data is in the workbook format, we are going to click on what workbook. Then when you click on workbook, just locate where you downloaded the data or the file to. So this is my file. Just click on that and then click on what import. So when you click on import, this is the table, or this is the view that we are going to see. But then make sure you click on select multiple tables and then select all the tables. Now our data, the data that you downloaded contains, or it has multiple tables. It has, 5 tables, right? So this is the reason why I said don't open the workbook, but then open a blank workbook. So now, whilst we have all the tables selected, just click on what transform data. We are clicking on transform data because we are going to clean and then transform our data, right? Perfect. So when you click on the transform data, you are going to be presented with the Power Query editor. So it is loading. Let's wait for everything to load. Perfect. Now, this is the Power Query editor. Now, if you are new to Power Query, this is the Power Query editor. So we have our add column, transform column, and then the view tab, and then the home tab. So this is where you get all the things that you need. Now this is where you see all your tables, right? So this is where you see all your tables. Now I have 5 tables, right? So this is where I can see everything here. Now, if you want to change the name of any of the tables, you can double click on the table, or you can just come here under properties. You see you have what the name of the table here, so you can just rename it from here. But then I don't want to rename a table. I'm okay with the names here. Perfect. So now any changes that you make to your table, right, it will appear here. So assuming I come here and then I rename my table to customer analysis, and I hit enter. Now you see another thing will be added here, right? So let me just come here, click here. Now let me double click here and then change it to maybe course, and then hit enter. Now we didn't see anything, but then when we make any changes here, you are going to see it here, right? Now let me click back and then rename it to customer. Perfect. Now what we are going to do is we are going to transform all the tables in our in that we have imported in Power Query. Right, so we will start with the customer table. Now there are some tables, or there are some columns that we are not going to need in our analysis, right? Perfect. So something like the customer alternative key, we are not going to need it. So if we are not going to need it, we can just right click and then what, delete, or we can just go to, sorry, we can just come to choose column, right? Click on choose column, and then we are going to see all the columns in our table, right? We are going to see all the columns in our table. So for now, I'm going to deselect everything and then select only the tables that I need, right? So I need customer key, geography key. So the customer key will be my primary key, and the geography key will be my what, foreign key. So I'm going to need the first name, I'm going to need the birth date, the marital status, gender. I don't need email. I don't need yearly income. I need number of children, education, occupation. Right. So these are the tables that I need, and then I'll hit what, okay. And you see all the other columns will be what, deleted or removed. Right. Perfect. Now let us transform something here. Now when you see we have first name, middle name, and then last name. But then I want to group them, I want to merge them into what, full name. So what I can do is what, select the first name, hold my control, select the middle name, and then what, the last name. Now I'm going to go to what, the transform. I'll be on the transform tab. Now on the transform tab, you are going to see merge columns under what, test column here, under the test column section. Or whilst the columns are selected, you can just right click, then you see merge columns, right? So when you click on merge columns, now it will ask you, what do you want to be the separator? Now I want the separator to be what, space, and then I'm going to rename it to what, full name, and then hit what, okay. So now you see the first name and then the middle name and then the last name is gone. It's now, I mean, they are now in what, the same, I mean, column. Did you see that? Perfect. Now let's come here. Now the birth date, instead of this to show as a date, it is showing as what, a whole number. So you click on the data type here, you click on this icon here, and then you choose this, you will change it to what, to a date. Now watch. So you see, whilst I'm doing the, whilst I'm editing or whilst I'm transforming my data, the steps are being added here. So if you want to go back to uh, the previous step, you just have to click on this one. So now you see this one, we merged the column. So now this one, we removed other columns, right? So you can also double click on this one, and then you see the editing that we did, right? Perfect. So we can right click, and then you can go to what, rename. You can rename to anything that you want, right? Perfect. Now let's go back and then change this one to date. And you, are you sure you want to insert a new step? Yes, we want to insert a new step. Perfect. Okay, so we already have it here, right? So let's delete, and then we have it here, right? So change type one, this is it. So we have changed this to what, a date. Perfect. Now when you come to the marital status column, we are seeing M and S, right? But then we all know that the M means what, married, and then what, the S means what, single, right? So instead of we to show M and S, let us change it to married and what, single, right? So what we can do is select the column, right? And then right click, and then you come to replace values, right? Replace values. So click on replace values, and it's asking us, what value do you want to find? I want to find M. Sorry, I want to find M, and I want to replace the M with what, married. So any place or any row that you see M, replace it with to what, married, and then you hit OK. Do you see that? We are going to do the same thing for S. Right click and then click on replace values. So we are going to find S. We are going to replace it with what, single. Do you see that? And then you click OK. Perfect. So now we have what, married and single. Perfect. So this is what we want. We are going to do the same thing for gender. So you, as you know, you can just pause the video, try and then change it, right? Try and change. So we are going to use the same process. So right click, select the column and right click, replace value. We are going to replace M with what? With male. Sorry. Do you see that? Click OK. So now it has been replaced. So do the same thing. Right click, replace value. You're going to find F and then replace it with what? Female. Mind you, it is case sensitive. So you make sure you type the same thing as what? As it is in the column, right? hit OK. So you see that now we have what male and what female. Perfect. I think everything is set here, right? Now with the birth date, we are going to extract the customer age, right? We are going to extract the customer age. So we are going to see the age of the customer, right? So select the birth date, you go to add column, come to date, and then click on what age, right? Click on age. Now this is what we have here. Now you see that we have some funny number here, right? We have some, funny numbers here. So what we can do is, whilst the age column is selected, and then whilst we are on the add column tab, just click on what custom column. Click on what custom column. So click on that. When you click on that, you'll be presented with this. Now we are going to name this as what? As age. Now we are going to write M code here. Now what we are going to do is very simple. So just double click on the age, right? Double click on the age, then divide it by what? 365, right? Divide it by 365 and then hit OK. So now we have what? The age of the customer here, right? You have the age of the customer here. Now, what we are going to do is let's select, okay, first of all, I think we have to do something here. Uh, let's see. All right, so I think, okay, let's come here. We have to round this. All right. I'm looking for something here. Okay, so for now, let's change the data type to decimal and let me see something. Okay, now we have the data type has been changed to decimal, right? So we click here and then we change it to the decimal number. Now, because we have changed the data type to a decimal number, we don't want to see the decimals here, right? I intentionally change it to a decimal so that we can round it, right? Perfect. So uh we don't want to see the decimals, right? So what we can do is select the age column, and then under transform, when you are on the transform tab, you will see, come to the number column, right? Come to the number column, then you see rounding, right? You see rounding. So select it, and then let's round it down, right? Let's round it down, because this customer is 62.9, blah blah blah. So it means that it's left with some few months, and then the customer will be what 63. But then the customer is not yet 63, so we are going to round it down. So then we are going to see what 62. Do you see that? Do you see that? Perfect. Now you can double click on this one, and then we can see customer age, and then you hit enter. Perfect. So now we don't need this one again, right? We don't need this age. So we can select this, right click, and then click on what? Move. Perfect. So we are done with what? The transformation on the customer table. On the customer table. So now let's go to the geography table. Let's go to geography table. So the same thing. Let's come to home. Then let's click on choose columns. So instead of you deleting them one by one, let's choose the column that we only need. So we need the geography column because this is going to be our primary key. We need the city column. We don't need the state, and then we don't need these three. We need the region column, and then let's see, do we need a sales territory? Okay, for now let's click on sales territory and then click on okay. So now this is uh the columns that we need. So now we can double click and then we can choose change this to what country, right? Hit enter. Perfect. So this is what we want. Let's come to the product table. So the product table is not main, right? This is the product table. So we don't need the product alternative key. So right click, then click on what remove. So we are left with what only these three column, right? Now let's change the data type. Click on this and then let's change the data type to a decimal. Right. So just forget about the now here for now. Forget about the now. In the future, we are going to understand why we have now here. Now let's go to the sales table. So this is our transactional table. So we are going to have a lot of duplications, right? We're going to have a lot of duplication. Now before we continue, the customer table, geography table, product table, and then the sales territory table, they serve as what are dimensional table, right? They are the dimensional table, or you can also see they are what? The lookup table, because they contain only the primary key and they contain what? The only unique values, right? Perfect. But then the sales table can also be termed as what? The fact table or what? The transactional table, because they contain what? Duplicate values, right? Perfect. So now the same thing, just whilst on the sales table, come to home and then come to what? Choose columns. So deselect everything. Let's choose the product table. Let's choose the customer key, because these keys that we are selecting is going to be what? The foreign key in the sales table, right? So you see, when we were in the customer table, we had what? Customer key. So in the customer table, the customer key is going to be the primary key. But then when it comes to the sales table, the customer key here is now what? A foreign key, right? Perfect. So make sure you understand these things. Now we need product key. We don't need the order date key, blah blah blah. We need the customer key. We need the sales territory key. We need the order quantity. We need unit price. I think this is okay, right? And then we can choose the order date. So in the future, if we want to make analysis with this one, we can use this, right? So these are the things that we need, right? Perfect. So now we have what? A very simple uh, columns here. Perfect. Now let's come to the sales territory. Sales territory is not many, so we can just delete them one by one. We don't need the sales territory alternative key, so we can remove it. Sales territory region. Okay, I think this is okay. So we have the region, we have the country, okay, we have the group, that's fine. But we don't need the image, so right click and then remove. So these are the columns that we need. Perfect. So now we've been able to transform all our data, right? We've been able to transform all our data. But watch here, let's come to the customer table. Now on the customer table, with the customer age, we have to group them, right? So you know the groups, because so when we make analysis with this one, it will not make sense, because we have from 25 years to 65 years, right? So we have to group them, right? You have to group them. So now what we can do is select the customer age column, come to add column, and then on add column tab, just click on what? Conditional column. Now what we are going to do here is very important. So just follow me. So next, let's rename this to what? Age, sorry, age group. Perfect. Now what we are going to see now, the the conditional column in the Power Query editor plays the same role as the if function, right? So you see this one, we have if and then so we are saying if the customer age is less than or equal to 10, right? Then we are going to see 10 we are going to say 0 to 10, right? If it is less than or equal to 10, so it is what? 0 to 10. Perfect. Now this is going to be if the customer age is less than or equal to 20. So if it is less than or equal to 20, so it means it is what? 11 to what? 20. Perfect. So if the customer age is less than or equal to 30, so we want to have what? 10 intervals, right? Perfect. So we are going to say 21 to what? 30. Perfect. So the same thing, customer age is less than or equal to 40. Then we are going to see uh, 31 to 40, right? Perfect. Now, if the customer age again is less than or equal to 50, then we are going to say what? 41 to 50. Then same thing, if the customer age is equal to or less than 60. Mind you, I'm not just doing it, right? I know where my age is starting and I know where my age is ending, right? Yeah, so before you can do this, you have to make sure you know the starting of the age and then what the ending of what the age. So this one will be 51 to what? 60, right? Perfect. Now our age ends at 66, right? So we've not captured 66. So customer age is less than or equal to 70. Then we are going to say what? 61 to 70, right? So anything apart from this, you're going to see what? 70 plus. Mind you, we don't have 70 plus in the ages, right? But then we have to do this because in the future, where we have customers who have whose age is what 70 plus, it means this one will be what captured. Then you see, we don't have the customer age start from 25, right? So if you will think that there is no need for us to add the 10 the 10, right? But then in the future, if you get any customer who is, I mean, who falls within this age, we don't have to come back. The data will be captured automatically, right? Perfect. So now when you click on OK, now do you see that? Do you see that? So we have what from what 21 to what 20 21 to 30, and then 61 to 70, right? Perfect. So now let's change this to what to a test. Change the data type to a test, right? Perfect. So now do you see that? So now when we filter to see only customers that have 25 that are 25 years, sorry, okay, it is loading. So do you see that? So this one will be only one. This one will show only one, 21 to 30. Do you see that? Perfect. Now we can come here and then can select everything. Okay. So now we have to see everything. Now we are done with the transformation and then the cleaning, right? So what we can do is we can just come to the home tab. Now we are going to load this back to our Excel workbook, but then we are not going to load it to our normal Excel worksheet. We are going to load the data into what? Into a data model, right? We are going to load it into a data model so that we can create connection between the data, right? Perfect. So just follow me. Whilst on the home tab, click on the drop down here, then choose close and load to. Now when you choose close and load to, it is going to load to the normal worksheet, right? But when you choose close and load to, it is going to load the data to our data model so that we can create the connection, right? So when you read the IntelliSense, it is saying save blah 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 blah. So don't worry, just click on close and load to, and then you will be presented with this interface here. It is loading. Let's wait for it to load. Right, so this is the import data pane here. So when you close and load to, this is what you will be presented with. Now if we were using our normal Excel worksheet, we would have just choosing this one, right? It will be loaded here as what as a table. But then we only want to create a connection, right? We are loading it into our data model. So we only want to create a connection. So just select only create connection, right? And then just click on what? Add this to the data model, right? So when you hit OK, you're not going to see the data here, right? You're not going to see the data here in our normal worksheet as the column and then the row, but you are going to see it in what? In our data model, right? So do you see that it is loading here? So we have what? 5 uh, tables here. So if we were to load it into our normal worksheet, we would have to use what do you call it? XLOOKUP and then VLOOKUP to create the connection, right? But then this one says it is now in our data model. We are just going to use the data modeling uh, tab or the pivot table tab, the pivot power pivot tab to just create the connection, right? So don't worry, you are going to see what I'm talking about. So it is loading. So you see creating relationship. Perfect. So now it's downloading. So in the customer table, we have what 18,000 plus rows, and then geography, and then the sales tab, you have what 60,000 plus. Uh, data. So now that you have cleaned and transformed all our data, there must be some relationship between the data or between the tables, right? We have 5 tables, but then now there's no relationship between the table. So we don't have relationship between the sales table and then what the customer table. Neither do we have relationship between the customer table and what the sales table, the product table, right? So what we can do here is to just go to Power Pivot. Now we are not seeing our data, right? Don't worry, it is loaded safely in our data model, right? So just go to Power Query, go to Power Query. Now if you don't have the Power Query tab here, on the data tab, right? On the data tab here, you see we have what? Manage data model. So just click on manage data model. So when you click on manage data model, send you straight to what? The Power Pivot view, the Power Pivot view. Now with the Power Pivot, we have two views, right? We have the data view And what we have what the diagram view. So now this is the data view. We have all our tables here, right? We have all the 5 tables here. Perfect. Now let's go to the diagram view so we can use the diagram view to create our relationship, right? Perfect. Now this is the diagram view. Now and then these are the tables that we have, right? Perfect. So we have one here. Perfect. Now watch here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a relationship, sorry, between the dimensional tables and what the fact table. So as I said, the customer, the geography, the product, and then the sales territory table, they serve as what our dimensional table or our lookup table. Now, the reason why I'm saying dimensional lookup because they contain only the primary key and then they contain only unique values, right? So just write it somewhere. The dimension table or the lookup table contains only what a unique values what it contains only the unique values. Perfect. Now the sales table can also be termed as what the fact table or what the transactional table, and this is where our day-to-day transactions are stored, right? And then it contains duplicate values. Perfect. Now we are going to connect the primary key to the foreign key. So now when you check here the customer table, when you check the customer table, we have customer key, right? And then when you check the sales table, we have customer key. So the customer key here in the customer table is termed as what? The primary key. And then the customer key here in the sales table is termed as what? The foreign key, right? So we are going to use the primary key and the foreign key to create our relationships, right? Perfect. So now what we can do is just follow me. Click on the customer key, drag it, and then place it on top of what? The customer key here. You see that? Now there will be a relationship. So the relationship that will be created is what? Is a uh, one to many relationship. So this is the asterisk here means many. That this is what one. The one here means that this is what unique, right? The one here means that this is unique, and then the many here means that this contains what duplicate. Do you see that? Perfect. So now there's a relationship between the customer table and then the sales table. You're going to do the same thing towards uh all the other tables. So now let me just come here. Perfect. Now let's create a relationship between the product and then what? Let me bring this one. The product table and then the sales table. So you see now we have product key, right? We have product key. Now let's drag the product key to this product key here. Then there will be one to many relationship. You see that this is one, this is what many. So as I told you, this dimensional table contains what unique values. That's why they're saying one. That is sales table contains what uh duplicate value. That's why it's saying many. Right, perfect. So now let's come here. Now we have the sales territory key. We have sales territory key here. So this is primary key. We are relating it to what? The foreign key here. Right, perfect. So now there's a relationship here. Now we don't have a direct relationship between the geography table and then what? The sales table, right? Because you see, we have geography key here as a primary key. But when you come here, we don't have a geography key here as a foreign key in the sales table, right? So you ask yourself, so can't we create a relationship between the two? We can create a relationship, but then what we can do is we can use a third party, right? You can use another table, right? So now watch here. You see, we have uh, geography table here, right? You have geography table here. So okay, so this one can come here. Perfect. Do you see that we have a geography key here? Now when you come to the customer table, we also have a geography key here, right? Perfect. Now instead of we connecting the geography key to the sales table, we don't have a connection. We don't have any foreign key that we can use to create a relationship, right? But we can use this to create a relationship, right? You see, we have geography key here. We have geography key here, or we can use where is it? Okay, so okay, so everything is set now. So now let's use the geography key here, and then let's see what will happen here. Do you see that? So now we don't have direct relationship with the geography key and then the sales key, geography table and then the sales table, right? But then since we have a relationship between the geography key and then the customer key, and then the customer key has relationship between the sales table, automatically the geography key has been connected to what? The sales table. Do you see that? There is no direct relationship between the sales table and then the geography table. But then since there is a direct relationship between the customer table and then the sales table, we can use or we can say that indirectly there is what? A relationship between what? The sales table and then the geographic table, right? Perfect. So this is what you have been able to. All right. So we are still not seeing our data, right? We are still not seeing our data. So you ask yourself, what the hell is going on here? Don't worry. We have our data safely stored for us in our data model, right? So you don't have to worry about anything. Now, what we can do to get more insight, right? What we can do to get more insight from our analysis here is what? To create a calculation using what? DAX. So DAX is what? Data analysis expression. Then DAX is mostly used in Power BI, but then I want to use DAX in Excel so that you can know that, or you know that the Excel tool has what? More functionalities here. All right. So now what I can do uh, is to create, first of all, create a table, right? Create a table that will host or that will contain all my DAX calculations, right? That will contain all my DAX calculations. Now, what I can do here is just follow me. Select any cell, right? I can select any cell, Control C to copy, right? I can Control C, yes, to copy, right? Control C to copy any cell. Now, I can come to Power Pivot and then come to Manage, right? Yes, so this is where I am right now. Here, I'm not going to do anything here. What I'm going to do is, once I've copied the cell, I'm going to just click on what? Paste, right? I'm just going to click on the paste. Then you will get this paste preview. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just name this one to what? Cal calculations, right? Calculations. And then this is the only thing I'm going to do, and then hit OK. Now you see another table will be added here, right? Do you see that? So we have our 5 tables, and then we have what? The calculations table. So for now, we don't have anything in the calculations table, right? Perfect. So now I can click here and then exit back to Excel, right? Perfect. Now we are making progress. Now before I start with the analysis, or before I start with the DAX calculations, what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a pivot table, right? I'm going to insert a pivot table. So what I can do is just come here, come to insert, and then on the insert tab, you see pivot table. Just click on pivot table. Now, when you click on pivot table, you see the normal pivot table would have just select from a table or a range. But then because this one, our data is in a our data is stored in a data model. See, Excel knows that our data is in a data model. So it's automatically selecting use this workbooks data model, right? So it automatically selected this one. Then we are going to select or choose existing worksheets, right? And then you just click on what? Okay. Now watch here. Watch what will happen here. Now, let me place this one here. Now, this is called what? Pivot table field. Pivot table field list or fields. Now, you see, this is the calculation table that I created. Now, for now, it has no columns or it has no table, right? Perfect. Now, we have all the columns that we have, all the 5 columns, the customer column, or the customer table, the geography table, the product table, the sales table, and what? The sales territory table. And it has what? All the columns in what? The table. Do you see that? Yeah, so this is what the what do you call it? The data model, right? Perfect. Now, what I can do is, first of all, let me exit this one. What I can do is go to Power Pivot. I'm going to create my first calculation, DAX calculation, right? So go to Power Pivot, and then you see measures, right? You see measures. Click on the drop down and click on what? New measure. Click on what? New measure. Now, what we are going to do here, this one we could have used Excel functions, right, to do it. But then I always prefer measure because the measure gives me more, features. Perfect. Now, The first one here is what? Table name. Now the table name is where do you want the measure that you are coming to write here to be stored? Now, I want it to be stored in what? Calculations table. Now, this is the reason why I created this table, right? Perfect. Now, the measure name. What is the name that you want to give to the measure? I want this one to be what? The number of what? Customers. So the first measure I'm going to create is what? I'm going to create or I'm going to find, I'm going to calculate for what? The total number of customers that we have, right? Perfect. So now when you come here, this is where we are going to write our calculations, right? Perfect. So now, what function, what DAX function do we you need to get the total number of customers? We need what? The count rows function. So the count rows count the number of rows in a table, right? Perfect. So now, follow the intelligence here. The count rows need a table. So we need a table to count the rows so that we know the number of what customers that we have. Now watch here. We could have used the sales table, right? But then, as I said earlier on, the sales table contains what? Duplicates. So it means that when you use the sales table, we are going to count the customers multiple times, right? It means that one customer can make, 10 purchases. One customer can buy uh, 10 products. Do you see that? So it means that in the sales table, we will record that one customer multiple times. So if we are to count the customers using the sales table, it means that we are going to do multiple counting or double counting. Do you see that? Now, to prevent us from doing multiple counting, why don't we count the customer, or why don't we use the customer table, since it contains only unique values? Do you see that? Perfect. So we are going to do count the customer table. Do you see that? Perfect. So now we can check the formula, and then you see no errors in formula. Do you get that? We don't have any error. Now, because this is a number, we are going to format it to what? A number. Then we are going to choose what? A whole number, and then we use what? The comma separator. So when you hit OK, now watch here. Now you see that we have what? 18,448 customers, right? Perfect. Now, when I right click and then click on show field list, I can also come to the customer, and then we have a customer key. I can also drag the customer key here. This is Simon, right? I can come here and then I will say count, and you see you will get the same thing, 18,000, blah blah blah. You get it? But then the DAX gives you more, functionalities, as I said. Now, this one means when you use this when you use the customer table to count the number of customers, it means you are using what? Implicit, measure. But then when you use the DAX calculations to count the number of customers, we are using what? The explicit measure. So don't worry about those things, right? Perfect. So now, for now, this is what we have, right? For now, this is what we have. Perfect. Now, the next thing that I want to do is to get the average customer age, right? I want to get the average customer age. So you see, we did, or we calculated for all the customers age, right? So I want to get the average, right? So the same thing, I'll go to Power Pivot, come to measure, and then click on new measure. So for now, before that, let me exit this one, and then click on new measure. Let me bring it here so that I'll make it big so you will see it. So the same thing, the table name, I want my calculations to be on the I want the DAX calculation that I'm going to do to be stored in the calculations table. And now I'm going to do average customer age. Do you see that? Perfect. So I'm going to make it big so that you see it. Now, the average customer age, what the function that we are going to use is what? The average function, right? The average function requires what? A column name, right? It requires a column name. Now, the column name that we are going to use is what? The customer age, right? The customer age. Let's see. Perfect. Now, you see that the average function requires a column name. This is the column name, but then it came with what? The table. So this column name can be found in what? The customers table. Now, this is what? The qualifying way of writing what? Our DAX calculations, right? So you first of all have to get the customer table, and then get the column that this age, or this. So you first of all have to get what we need is what? The column name. This is the column name, but it came with what the table. So this is what the qualifying way to write our DAX calculation, right? So this is the qualifying way. So let's check our formula. See, we don't have any error. So the average, it will be a number with what no decimal place. Let's see whole number, because this is what age, right? And hit okay. So the average age is what of our customer is what 45. So on average, our customer age is what 45. Do you see that? Perfect. So now let me move on. Let's write new formula, new DAX. Now this one is going to be what our total revenue, right? It is going to be our total revenue. So the same thing. So all the DAX calculations that I'm going to write will be stored here on the calculation. So I'm not going to change this. Now this I'm going to rename this to what total revenue or total sales, right? Perfect. Now what is the function that we are going to use for the total sales? So this is very simple. Now watch here. When we the total sales could have been just the quantity multiplied by what the unit price or the list price, right? But then watch here. I want to show you something so that you understand what I'm talking about. Let's go to data. Let's go to Power Query, and then let's double click on this one so that you go back to Power Query editor. And then I just want to show you something. Perfect. Now, when we come to this, let's wait for when we come to the sales table, you see in the sales table we only have the order quantity, right? And then the unit price, right? And then the unit price. We could just use the unit price to multiply uh, by the quantity, right? But then we have to use the list price, right? So the list price is stored in what the product table. So this is the list price. So when you check or when you take, do you see it? All right. So now, so when you take something like the road frame, the price is what 279, right? Perfect. I want to show you something here. All right. Let me come to this and let's choose okay, sorry about this. Let's go to ML mountain front wheel. So you see the price is 209 209, right? If maybe it's in dollars or cedis, $209, right? Now let's come to the sales table. Now, now the product table, this is what product key. The product key is 411, right? 411. Now let's go to sales. Now let's check 411. We don't have 411, right? So what can we use to, let's see. I just want to show you something so that you understand. Okay, so we don't have 411. All right, so what can we do? What can we do? Okay, this is the product name. But then when we come to the sales, we don't have the product name, right? So what I just want to show you is let me remove the filter. What I just want to show you is that we have to multiply the quantity, right, by what? By the list price, right? We have to multiply the quantity by the list price. We cannot multiply the quantity by the unit price, right? By the unit price. Now, the list price cannot be found. We cannot find the list price in the same table, right? So the quantity is in the sales table, and then the list price is in what? The product table. Do you see that? So we need the sales we need the quantity column in the sales table, and we need the list price in what? The product table. Now watch here. Now you understand what I'm saying. So what we need is in separate tables, right? Perfect. So that's the scenario I want to uh, I want you to understand. Now let's go to our DAX calculation. Let's write the DAX. Go to pivot table, measures, new measure. Now let's write our DAX calculation for the total revenue. Perfect. Now watch here. Because the columns that we need is in separate tables. Because the column that we need is in a separate table, we are not just going to use the ordinary sum function, but then we are going to use the sum x function. So the sum x function serves as an iterator, right? So the sum x function returns the sum of an expression evaluated for each row in a table. Now, watch here. Now, the sum x function needs a table, right? It needs a table. Now we can give it this table, the sales table. Now, what is the expression that we want to do? Now, we want to multiply the order quantity, right? We want to multiply the order quantity by what? The unit price. Now, sorry, the list price rather. Now, you see, when we type the list price, we are not seeing anything, right? Because the list price cannot be found. We cannot find the list price in the sales table. Do you see that? So what we can do is we can use another function called related, right? Related, right? So the related function returns a related value from another table. Do you see that? So since the list price cannot be found, we cannot find the list price in the sales table. We can use the related function here to now when you type list, you see now we have what? List price from what? The product table. Do you see that? Now let's close it again. Sorry. Do you see that? So don't be confused, right? Don't be confused. So we are using the sum x function, and the sum x function needed a table. So now this is the table, the sales table, right? Now we are multiplying the quantity, order quantity from the sales table, right? The order quantity column from the sales table with what? With a column that does not exist in the sales table. So if the column does not exist in the sales table, we can use related so that we can use the list price that does not exist in the sales table, right? Now let's check our formula. You see, we don't have any error, right? Perfect. So now, because this is a value, let's choose currency with no decimal place and hit OK. Now you see what we will have here. Now our total revenue is going to be what? $307 million, right? $307 million and $92. All right. So don't worry about what we are doing, right? Just follow what we are doing. So I want us to write all the DAX calculations. I want us to write all the calculations before we come to the dashboard, right? Yes. So now what I want us to do now is we want to get the number of countries that we are, operating in, right? Number of countries that we are operating in. So sometimes we have maybe one of our warehouse or one of our uh, business, maybe the United States or maybe in Accra, or do you get it? Where we operate, where our warehouses are operated or are situated, right? All right. So now this is what we are going to do. We are going to just calculate the number of countries, right? The number of countries that we operate, the number of countries that we operate. Perfect. So same thing. This is going to be hash number of country. You see that? Perfect. So just follow me. This is going to be very simple. Now, the number of country is we are going to count the geography, right? Now with the geography, we have to do a distinct count, right? Because in the geography or in the region column, the countries repeated multiple times, right? They repeated multiple times. Or if even if it is, unique, we just have let's use the distinct count so that in the future where we have multiple columns in that region column that we want, we would have to what only the distinct count of it, right? Perfect. So now what we are going to do is we are going to use the distinct count. Then the distinct count needs what? A column name. Now what column do you want to count? You want to count what? The country or the region. Is it a country or region? Let me see. Sales territory region. Okay, now let's use region and see if this is what we want. Now this is a number, whole number, right? Perfect. Let's see. I think it should be 6. Okay, so this is not what we want. Let's come here, go to measure, let's manage measure. Now number of country, let's click on it and then edit. Now I want to count the region, the country. See, I renamed one column as country. Yes, so that is what we are going to use. So distinct count and then country. So yes, so this is what the geography, not the sales territory, right? The country from what the geography table. Perfect. So this is what we have. Perfect. So it's a whole number. It should be six, right? Perfect. So now close it. Perfect. Now this is what we have, right? So it means that we are operating from what six different countries. We are operating from what six different countries. Perfect. Now the next one that we are going to do is what, just get the number of transactions, right? The total number of transactions that you've been able to process. The total number of transactions that you have been able to process. So this one too is going to be hashtag number of what transactions. So if you don't understand one, you just follow through and then you know what I'm trying to get, right? Perfect. So this one is going to be very simple because we are counting the transactions. It means we have to use what the sales table, right? Perfect. So this one is going to be what we are going to count the rows in the sales table because the count rows need what a table. So we give it the sales table. Then this is what a number. You're going to choose what a whole number, and then so if you thought okay. So it means we did what? We were able to process 60,000, over 60,000 transactions, right? We're able to process over 60,000 transactions. Or what we have to do is, in the future, we are going to, make analysis based on customers that are having children and then customers that do not have children, right? So we want to now get those customers that have children, the customers that have children, then the percentage, right? So we want to get the percentage of customers having children, right? Percentage of customers having children. Now you ask yourself, why are we getting why are we so much concerned about customers who have children and then customers who do not have children? Now this will help us in our promotion, right? So sometimes you have to have some family promotion and the rest. You get it? Yes. So if you know that the customer has children, it will be very easy for us to make some family promotion or do you get that? Yes. So now don't worry about the analysis and then everything. When we start with the dashboarding, you uh, explore the reason behind what we are doing, right? Perfect. So now the same process, just go to measure. I'm going to make it big so that you see it. So now this is going to be percentage of customers with children. So the CWC is going to be customers with children, right? Perfect. So this is what I'm going to do because we are having percentage. I told you in my previous tutorials that anytime you hear about percentage, it means you are going to use what the divide function, right? Perfect. Now because we are going to divide, because we need a percentage of customers with children. See, with the customers in the customers table, we have a column saying number of children, right? So some customers they don't have children, so it is represented by what zero. So if you see zero, it means those customers does not have what children, right? Perfect. So now because we want to get only those customers that have children, we are going to use what the calculate function, right? The calculate function will serve as what a filter, right? But then it will return a single value, right? Perfect. So we want to get the calculate. The calculate needs what an expression. So now we are saying get the total uh or get the number of customers. So get the number of customers, comma. I said comma. So number of customers, and then let's come to the down part, the comma. Now we have filter. Now what do you want to filter? Now when you get the number of customers, right? Use the number of customers and then go to the customers table. Sorry. What we are saying is go to the customers table, right? And then locate number of children. So this is what we want. So we see the number of children column in the customers table where the number of children is greater than zero. So it means greater than zero means from one going, right? So greater than zero means those who have what children, right? Perfect. Now let's close that and then come to the denominator. And then the denominator is going to be divided by what? The number of what? Number of customers. So this is the reason why we did total number of customers before proceeding to this one. Now, when we close it and then we check our formula, see we don't have any error. Now, what is happening here? So now let's leave the divide function for now. Now we are saying calculate the customers number of customers, right? The expression is we want you to use the number of customers. Now, the number of customers, we don't want to use all the customers, right? We don't want to use all the customers. You want to use the customers where we want to use the customer table where the number of children column is what greater than 0. So it means when you see 1, 2, 3, 4 going, it means this is the rows that we want to use, right? So calculate them, and then when we are done calculating, so the denominator divided by what? The total number of what? Customers. So this is where the divide function will come in, right? So this is what we want to get, right? Perfect. So because it is a percentage, let's use percentage. Do you have to do any decimal, please? Okay, let's use one decimal, please, and then hit okay. So this is what we have. Now I don't want to use any decimal place, right? So I can go here, measure, and then I can click on this, edit this, and I can say 0 decimal place and hit okay. And then I can close it. You say 72%, right? So 72% of our customers are having children, right? They have children. So it means that in the future, if you are making any family promotion, you know where to push that promotion to. Do you get that? Perfect. So now we are going to do the same thing, but then this one will be number of customers that do not have what? Children, percentage, right? I could have just copied and then edited it, but I want to write it. So percentage of customers without children. So when you see the WT, it means without. I don't want to write everything in full, right? So the first one was customers with children. So WC, CWC. But this one will be what? CWTC without customers. Perfect. I know you understand. So it's the same thing. Divide. The numerator is what? We are calculating the number of what? Customers. Calculate the number of customers, comma. Now, the filter is going to be where the customer column, where the number of customer column, on where the number of children column is what? The first one was what? Is equal to 0. So if it is equal to 0, it means that they don't have children, right? Perfect. It's equal to 0. And then now the numerator, sorry, we didn't close it. You should have closed. You should close this one and then comma to bring the denominator. Then let's divide it by what? The number of what? Customers. So just follow it and then you'll be good to go, right? So let's check the formula. Everything is working perfectly. Then this is what? A percentage with what? No decimal place. So this is what we are getting. So this is 28%, right? So it means the 2 should give you what? 100%, right? The 2 should give you what? 100%. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Now, since we have the percentage of customers that have children and then percentage of customers that do not have children, let's now find the percentage. Let's now find the revenue that we are getting from those customers, right? So we are seeing the percentage of children or the percentage of customers that have children are 72%. Now with this 72%, let's find this 72%. How like I don't know how to put it. The percentage, or sorry, the revenue it is generating, right? And then when you come here, the percentage of children without customers too. Let's see the revenue that it is generating, right? Perfect. So now we are not going to get the percentage. We are going to get what? The revenue. Do you get that? So just follow me. Follow me, and then you understand what I'm trying to do. Perfect. So now this one is going to be customers with children, or we can say revenue of customers with children. Do you see that? So You just have to name it how you are going to see it, right? Perfect. So now, because we don't have to get the percentage, there's no need for us to bring any divide, right? So now we can just start from what calculate. Now, because we want to get the revenue, we will push what the total revenue, comma, so that the total revenue will be our what our sorry our expression, right? Will be our expression. Now I can write it here, right? But I always come to the next line so that you will just follow it accordingly. Perfect. Now, what do you want to do? Now we want to get where the customer, where the number of children is greater than zero, because we want to get what customers with children, right? Is greater than zero. So now when you close it, let's check our formula. See, there is no error. We can use this is a currency, no decimal place, and then when you click OK, this is what we are getting, right? This is what we are getting. Are we getting the right thing? All right. So let me edit and see something here. Manage. So revenue of this edit. Okay. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is going to write filter. Let's filter the customer table, comma, then the expression. Filter expression is here. Now let's close it. Let's check again. Okay, I'm just doing something here. Okay, we are getting the same thing, right? We are getting the same thing. Okay. This is greater than zero, right? Now let's write another measure for the customers that do not have children, right? So this is going to be revenue of customers without children. Do you see that? Customers without children. Perfect. So we are going to do the same thing. So this one is going to be calculate. What is the expression? The expression is total sales or total revenue. Sorry, total revenue. So if you want to come to the next line, just enter and just click here and then press your tab. Where the let's filter the customer table, right? Comma. Now what is the filter expression? The filter expression is going to be where the customer table in the cast and then where the customer number of children, right? Number of children is greater than zero. Oh, okay. So the first one was what? Oh, okay. The first one was greater than zero. Am I doing the right thing? Then this one is going to be equal to zero. So wait, this one is what? Without. So zero means they don't have children, right? Perfect. Now let's check. There's no error, no decimal place. 90. Now let me show all the tab, and then this. Do you see that? So this and this should sum up to what? The total revenue. So watch here. So this and this, do you see that? It is summing up 307 million. Do you see that? Perfect. So it means we are getting the right thing here. Right. Perfect. Now let's hide. Now we are not done. Right. We are not done. Let's move on to what else do we need? What else do we need? Okay. Now let's find the percentage of male customers and a percentage of female customers, right? And we are done with the percentage of male customers and female customers. We also find the revenue that they are generating, right? Perfect. So just follow me and then you'll be good to go. Perfect. All right, so this one is going to be percentage of male customers. Customers. Perfect. Now, because we are finding the percentage, we know the draw, right? So we are going to use divide. What are we going to divide? We are going to divide by the calculate of what? Of what the total sales, right? Comma. And then enter. Where the customer, so this one too, we can use the filter, right? But then I think using the filter and then not using the filter is the same thing. Where the customer column, where the gender column, in the customer table, right, is equal to male. Now watch here, I'm putting the male in what? In a double quote. Do you see that? Is equal to male. Sorry, comma. You have to close it. Now let's close it before we hit the comma. By divided by what? The total sales or total revenue. Do you see that? Now let's check our formula. There's no error because this is a percentage. Use percentage. Let's say 1 decimal place, right? It's okay. So male customers are contributing to what? 49%, 49.7%, almost 50%, right? So let's do the same thing for female. So I could have just copied and then, but then I just want you to appreciate. So I'm going to write this for the second time. So percentage of female customers. Perfect. So now watch it. What we are going to do is the same thing. So because we are dealing with percentage, you bring the divide. What is the numerator? It will be the calculate or the total revenue, comma, total revenue, where the gender column in the customer table, right? Where the gender column in the customer table, right, is equal to, you bring the female in what? Quotation mark, is equal to what? Female. You close it, close the bracket, bring your comma, then you divide it by what? The total revenue. Let's close it again. Check the formula. Because this is a percentage, you go to number, percentage with 1 decimal place, click on OK. So this one, so it means this and this should give us what? 100%, right? This and this should give us, and you see that? So the male customers and the female customers, they are summing up to what? 100%. So if it is more than or less than 100%, it means you are wrong. So you'd have to, check that again. Perfect. Now, since we have the male and then the female customers, now let's get the revenue that they are both, contributing, right? Let's get the revenue that they are both contributing. So I think this will be the last, that function that we will be writing. Perfect. So let's get the revenue that they are both contributing. So this one is going to be revenue by male or from male customers, right? Anything that you want to do. So because we are not dealing with percentage, we will start from what? The calculate. Do you see that? Yes. So we are calculating, the expression is going to be total revenue. So we are saying use the total revenue. Now, when you use the total revenue, we want to only see where the gender column is equal to what? Male. Close it. Now we are not dividing it by the total revenue because we don't need the percentage, right? So when you check the formula, see, because this is a revenue, no decimal place, So it means the male customers, right? The revenue that we are getting from male customers are what? $152 million, right? $152 million, right? Perfect. So let's check the female too. So this one too is going to be revenue for or from female customers. So now the amazing part is that if you are able to, go through this video up to the end, right? Follow all the DAX calculation, everything that we are going to do. It will mean that you will be able to, use Power BI. Do you get it? Because these things are normally done in Power BI, right? But we are doing it here so that you know how Power BI and Excel I mean, how Power BI and Excel relate or are similar, right? Perfect. So this one to the calculate function, you are going to say use the total revenue, or you can say use the total revenue, comma. Now, when you use the total revenue, check where the gender column is equal to female. Sorry, we have to, put it in the quotation. Female. You see that? Let's close it. So anytime you make sure you check your formula before you click on OK. See whether we have an error or something. Right, it's perfect. So do you see that? So this is what male customers are giving us, and this is what female customers are giving us, right? So let's see something. Perfect. So we see the male customers and then the female customers. The revenue should sum up to what? The total revenue. That's what 307 million. So when you come here, you see that the total revenue is what? 307 million, right? So anytime you are doing this, you make sure you'll be checking, right? You'll be checking. Perfect. So now I think we are done with all the DAX calculations, right? We are done with all the DAX calculations. So what we can do next is to what? I think start with what? Our dashboard. Start creating our dashboard. So for now, so we can just clear everything. I just wanted you to see the calculations that we are doing. So now that we are done, let's clear everything. We are done with all our DAX calculations. We can now move on to creating a dashboard, right? So before I start with the dashboarding, I'll just double click on this, and then I'll rename this to analysis, right? Perfect. So you know that this is the analysis sheet, and then I'll create a new sheet, and I'll double click and rename this to what? Dashboard. Hit enter. Now with the dashboard, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the view tab. I'm going to turn off the grid lines, and then the headings, and then turn off the grid lines too. So we have what? This canvas here. Perfect. Now, what can we do here? So for now, let's Control A to select everything. Then let's make the background this 5% darker, right? 5% darker. Perfect. Now let's go to the Insert tab. Go to Illustrations, Shapes, and then first of all, let's bring this triangle here. I said triangle, sorry. This rectangle, right? Something like this. All right, so something like this is okay, right? Let me make sure it is. All right, so let's minimize it small. So Control 1. Let's remove the line. So we say scroll down, and then let's see. Let's say no line, right? Perfect. Now with the color, don't worry about the color. We are going to work with the color. So now go to Insert again, Illustration, Shapes, and then bring in this rounded corners, right? Rounded corners, shape. Now let's work, yes, play along with the roundness. like this. I think this is okay, right? Perfect. Control 1. Let's go no line. And before we check the color, select the shape and then to be on the same page. The height, let's use the height should be uh 0.82, and then the width should be 10 10.8, I think so. Perfect. So this is what we want to get, right? This is what we want. All right, now control 1 to check the color, right? So go to fill, select the color, and then choose more colors. We are going to use a custom color. So the code that we are going to use is 5675 68, right? 567568. If you are using the RGB, the red is 86, green 117, and then blue 104. So when you click OK, see that this is the color that you have gotten here, right? Perfect. Now let's select this, control 1. Now this one should be, I think it should be a gradient color, right? Perfect. It should be a gradient color. And oh, so this is what we want to do. So we want to change this to be our green color, then the N2 to be our green color. So make sure you have 4 stops here. So these things are called stops, right? Then this should be our should be this color, and then this should also be this color. We getting okay. So for now, let me delete one. Right, I'm deleting one. You just have to play along with this, right? Perfect. I think this is not bad. This is not bad, right? Perfect. So now, what you can do is to go to insert, right? Because we already have this shape, let's duplicate this shape. And then let's make it like this. And perfect. Now control 1. And then let's reduce the transparency or increase the transparency rather. Now let's bring it here. Okay. 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 Let's make it this color or this one. Do you see that? Yes. So you just have to play along with this. I think this is okay, right? This is okay. So let's bring a text box. Go to insert, and then under this one, you see when you click on the drop down, you see text box. So let's draw a text box like this. Then the first one is going to be number of customers. Sorry, customers. Make it like this. Perfect. So let's move it here. Now select the text box. Say no fill, no line. Then we are going to make the text. So whilst the text box is selected, the text color should be, I think the text should be a solid color. So select solid color or solid fill. The color should be, I think this, oh, this. Okay, let's use this. This 15% right. And let's change the for okay, everything is set. It should be 12. Perfect. So this is what we want to get, right? This is what we want to get. Let's bring it here. Or you can just do it total customers, right? Total customers. Perfect. Now what we can do is Control D to duplicate, Control D again, and Control D again. Do you see that? Yes. So now let's rename this to average average customer age. Average customer age, right? Perfect. Now let's rename this to revenue by male customers. Perfect. And then this is going to be revenue by female customers. Perfect. You see that? Perfect. Female cast. All right. So let's make this one. This perfect. Now this can come here a little. Perfect. This too. So you just have to take your time and then make it nicely. So we duplicate this one. You push it here just to make the dashboard nice, right? And then just to make it look professional. Push it here. Should be, I think it should be at the middle, right? Duplicate. This should be also be at the middle. So something like this is not bad. Perfect. So this should come here. Perfect. So what we can do is let's select this. Sorry, Control Z to come back. Let's select this, this one, whilst holding your control, right? Holding your control, come to shape format, come to align, and then let's align it to the top. You see that? Perfect. So this one too, can come down. This one, come down. Now select it like this, hold your control, select this, only the labels, right? Go to format, align to the top so that they will all be on the same line. So now duplicate this, then let's put this one under this. Right now it is time for us to start our analysis here. Now right click on the, while the pivot table is selected, right click and then show field list, so that you see your field list. Now let's expand the calculation, and then you see all the calculations are here. That is why when I was doing the calculation, the table name, I only selected what the calculation, so that all the calculations will be stored under what the table, the calculations table. Perfect. Now the total customers, we are going to drag this to this. Now do you see that? And then the you call it, the average customer age will come 45. The revenue by male customers will also come. No, you want the revenue. Okay, that's okay. This is it. And the revenue by female customers. Do you see that? Perfect. So this is what I'm going to do. First of all, I'm going to change the design, right? Select the pivot table, come to design. Let's change the color to this. So we have this color, right? Now let's change the formatting because I don't want to send all these numbers to the dashboard, right? So what we can do is select this one, Control 1, right? Control 1. Now come to select general and then clear everything here, right? Clear everything under general. Now, on a general, just follow what I'm typing. The first one is what? The square bracket. Square bracket greater than or equal to 1 million. Then you end the square bracket. You bring your dollar sign, 0, comma, comma, and then you bring your M in what? In a quote. Right? In a double quote, and then you end the square bracket. Or you can okay, let's leave the square bracket. And then bring a semicolon. Right? A semicolon. And then after the semicolon, it will be another square bracket greater than or equal to 1000. So 1000, right? So 3 zeros. And then you end the square bracket. You bring your dollar sign. And then 0, comma. This time the comma is 1. And then you double quote K to represent what? 1000. And then semicolon to end it. Then square bracket, right? So click on OK. You see that. So this is what? 153 million. So we will select this, go to home, click on the format painter. Sorry. Select this, go to format painter, and paint it on this. Right, perfect. Now we can also paint it on this, but watch here. So select and paint it on this. Right, so this one is K. Yes, we are good to go, but we don't want it to have a dollar sign because the customers, it is not in CDs, right? So we don't want it to have a dollar sign. So what we can do is we can control 1, and then we can copy this, control C to copy, right? Perfect. Now we can come here, select general, clear everything, and then enter. Now what we can do is just delete the what do you call it, the dollar sign, right? Delete the dollar sign and hit OK. So you see, now we don't have any dollar sign. Now the reason why I did that was that, so in case we type any number here, right? Any number here, let's say, and if this number is in million, and we are to format this, so control 1. Let's go to custom. Let's come here. Let's choose this one. You see that this one is in what? Is in million, right? But when we come here and then do something like 1,500, or let's say maybe 25,000, right? You see this one is automatically key, right? Yes. So if it is in million, it will come with M. If it is 1,000, it will come with K. So if you are wondering what I typed, I'm just going to copy it here so that you see it. So this is what I typed, right? So square bracket less than or equal to 1 million. You end the square bracket, dollar sign, 0, comma, comma, and then in double quotes, you bring your M, and then semicolon to end the million, then square bracket less than equal to 1,000. Close your square bracket, dollar sign, 0, comma, double quote K, and semicolon, and then you end the square bracket. Perfect. So this is what we are getting right now. Yes, this is what we are getting. Perfect. Now we can rename this to what? Rename this as KPIs. Right. Give it a color. Give it a font color like this. Then we can select the pivot table itself. Come to pivot table, analyze, and then click on. You see the pivot table name. Let's name this one to KPIs. Hit enter. So it is advisable to always name your pivot table, right? Perfect. Now let's come to the dashboard. How then do we represent these numbers on the dashboard? Now it's time for us to bring our formula bar. Select this number, right? Select this text box like this. Don't select it like this, right? But select it like this so that, sorry, like this, so that you'll be able to move it like this, right? Perfect. So whilst this is selected, come here, hit equal to, come here, and then you reference this 18K. You see that? Do you see the 18K? Yes, we did this because in the future, when this 18K changes on the analysis sheet, it will automatically change on the dashboard. Do you see that? Perfect. Now let's go and then do the same thing for what the customer age equal to. Then you reference the customer age. Perfect. So you duplicate. So this is what D6. This is going to be D7. Okay, so sorry, E. This is going to be E6 rather. Do you see that? Or if you don't want any problem, you can just come here and then you reference, right? So you get the same thing. So you duplicate and you come here, equal to, you reference what? Female. Hit enter. Do you see that? So now you're able to represent all the numbers on what? The dashboard, 10 of the formula bar. Now select one of the numbers, come to home. I'm going to give it font color of this. I'm going to give it this, and then it will be Calibri body. Let's bold it and see. Perfect. So this is what you want, right? So something like this. So select the number, double click on the format paint, paste it here, and then paste it here, and then escape to escape. Perfect. So this is what we are trying to get, right? So let's center it. Perfect. So just select everything, the numbers, come to format, shape format, and then align it to the top. So they've both been aligned to the top, right? So select, whilst holding your control, can bring it down using your down arrow, right? Perfect. So this is what you've been able to get. Now let's select this, duplicate this, bring this one here. Let's pick this one, and then we can see customer analytics. Perfect. So select it like this. Come here, bold it, make it something like 18. Then the font color, let's choose our green color like this. Do you see that? And then to be centered like this, you can send it to the top, or you can come here. So do you see that? Yes. So this is what we've been able to get so far.